Okay.
Okay, let's...
SISSA.
Okay.
SISSA is...
سیسا یعنی جایی که گیک یعنی باحال.
El lugar para descubrir los secretos del universo y la mente.
SISSA is... Big Bang Ideas.
SISSA is where geek means cool.
Местото каде што се отклучуваат мистериите на универзумот и на умот.
SISSA est un big bang de connaissances.
SISSA is svelare i misteri dell'universo e della mente.
SISSA is जहाँ geek लोग cool लगते हैं.
SISSA ist der Urknall des Wissens.
No, again, I put the game.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We had the board welcoming us today. So for those who don't know, when I was a student 10 years ago at SISSA, there were a lot of tales about boars roaming all around the park around SISSA, and apparently they're still there, so good to know. Thank you, Chiara and Marina, for this nice opening video, and welcome you all to the opening of this academic year at SISSA. My name is Roberta Fulci. I will be hosting this session, which is a great pleasure. This morning has a theme, which is excellence in science. We will have eminent speakers to debate about how to promote and encourage excellence in science. Today, we will talk of it from an international point of view, and especially with the European glance, since, as you know, just a couple of weeks ago, the new program for innovation and research was adopted, Horizon Europe. But today we will also have the chance to know the most deserving students and staff from SISSA to celebrate the prize winners of this year and to enjoy a stage show about science and about SISSA. So a rich and dense program in front of us for the next hour. Let us start. First of all, the director of SISSA, Professor Stefano Ruffo, would like to welcome you all. So, director, please.
So, welcome everybody for the opening of the academic year, which is indeed quite delayed this year. So, my speech will be about merit and equity. So, the opening of SISSA's academic year is a good opportunity to reiterate the question of true evil of our country. So the inability to recognize and promote talent, especially the one of younger people and women. The Italian university system is perceived as closed and impenetrable by the brilliant young people, Italians and foreigners, who in the recent year have chosen not to make their career in Italy. However, already in the first words of the presidential decree of foundation of SISSA dating back to 1978, the diversity of the project that was to be realized can be clearly perceived. It was written, promoting the development of culture and scientific research by preparing PhD students for research, especially for those coming from developing countries. SISSA wanted to welcome from the beginning, and continues today to welcome students, researchers, and teachers of all nationalities, of any religious belief and ideology, and constitutes today an informal but rigorous work environment, where the students is followed individually and is in close interaction with the teacher. After 42 years from the foundation, about 1,400 students have graduated. A third of these are foreigners, and a third are women from all continents and from about 80 different countries. Top nationalities are China, India, Iran, Russia, Argentina, Poland, Vietnam. In the academic year 2021, this year, there are 291 students enrolled. 73 are enrolled in the first year. Of these students, 99 are foreigners and mostly non-Europeans, and 76 are women. Students are enrolled at SISSA through an extremely competitive entrance examination, which selects the most deserving. The PhD scholarship is awarded to all students who are also recognized additional benefits, such as those of parenting assistance, for instance. SISSA has a nursery school. Considering the condition of the heavily underfunded doctoral schools in our country, one might think that this is a situation of privilege, but it's not so. Guaranteeing the best conditions of study and research cannot be considered privilege, and not, as long as one takes care not to discriminate. Today, the pandemic is having a very hard impact on the lives of our students, putting our training model based on those informal contacts that often give rise to the most creative ideas in serious difficulty. We have launched the beautiful project SISSA Back to the Future, which will develop along the axis of a renewed vision of our campus, digitization, the placement of our students, and the different organization of work. Returning to the main theme, fairness must be the key principle in the selection of students, taking care not to favor students coming from the most wealthy families. It is extremely important that the country continues to invest in universities that practice excellence in education and research, and that at the same time support the most deserving students. The system formed by SISSA, Scuola Normale, Scuola Sant'Anna, IMT Lucca, USP Pavia, and Grazioso Science Institute has made of the reward of merit the cornerstone of training. It aims to be an advanced research system capable of attracting talent at the international level and at the same time facilitating social mobility. SISSA, which opens today its 42nd academic year, is an authoritative member of this system. Coming now to today's topic, excellence in research, I would like to underline that SISSA has achieved important goals in this respect. Suffices to mention the success in European competitive programs since the establishment of the European Research Council, of which we have today Eveline. SISSA has obtained 25 grants, with 9 starting grants, 6 consolidators, 8 advanced, and 2 proof of concept. SISSA is thus ranked among the best institutions in Europe, considering its small size of about 80 faculty. This year's call have been already announced, and I'm sure that SISSA researchers are already preparing their projects. Thanks to an international concerted action, it was possible to avoid a significant cut in the ERC budget, although in this current year there will be a slight reduction, compensated by the absence of the synergy call. Furthermore, the budget that will be provided by the associated countries, which this year also include the UK, still remains to be defined. I would like to end with some considerations about public engagement, a subject on which SISSA has already been very active. and whose relevance has undoubtedly been emphasized by the pandemic. The Interdisciplinary Laboratory for Human and Natural Sciences, founded in 1986, which saw in the early years the fruitful collaboration between Claudio Magris and Paolo Budinich, to whom the play that will close this event is dedicated, continues in its action to promote scientific culture to the wider public and to explore the complex relationship between science and society. Since 1993, the laboratory has hosted the Master in Science Communication, which has overall trained about 300 students active in scientific journalism, institutional communication, publishing and dissemination, multimedia production, event organization. That I take here the opportunity to honor Pietro Greco, one of the founders of the Master, who recently and prematurely passed away. The European Research Council has dedicated the new call, Involve, Inspire, Influence, to this theme. The call will open shortly, and I hope that it will also see SISSA scientists' participation. Have a nice participation to this event.
Thank you, Director Ruffo. Thank you, Professor Ruffo, for your words. Now it's time for us to welcome the Italian Minister of University and Research, Maria Cristina Messa. The minister is herself a scientist. As you know, she's an expert in nuclear medicine and in diagnostic imaging. She has accepted to join us, but I know she cannot stay long, so I'll just let her speak at once. I think she has joined us by this time. Maybe someone from, oh no, they tell me she's not here yet. So we'll first introduce a student representative, Manuela Santo. She is going to give us a hint about her experience at SISSA. Manuela has just got her PhD as a student in neuroscience at SISSA. She got her PhD 3 weeks ago, and now she's about to start a new research project in Naples at University Federico II. She was also very active when during her stay at SISSA, not only as a in her research, but also as a member of the governing board. So Manuela Santo, if you want to speak, that is your turn.
Thanks. So hi everybody. I'm honored to be part of this opening ceremony and to give you my greetings for the beginning of the new academic year. So SISSA is famous worldwide for being an excellent international PhD school in the field of physics, mathematics, and neuroscience, animated by excellent professors and students working together at innovative research projects. But what really makes SISSA special is its unique environment, which is characterized by the perfect combination between high-quality research and great social interactions. During this journey, in fact, you will create deep and authentic human connections with people coming from all over the world, living your same experience, animated by similar dreams and exposed to the same kind of stress, fears, and uncertainties. With time, you will identify more and more yourself in SISSA community. You will really feel to be part of something, and these feelings are the real building block of long-lasting SISSA identity. The PhD is an intense journey during which we are constantly put in front of our limits, and we have to demonstrate to be motivated, determined, and resilient. We acquire expertise like rational and independent thinking, time and resource management, communication and interpersonal skills, which are valuable attitudes for many different working contexts. For all this reason, SISSA supports different initiatives aimed to promote both academic and non-academic placement. And these efforts are essential and have to be implemented in the attempt to guarantee to the PhD profile in Italy comparable working possibility to the one offered by other countries. Our school ensures on the many aspects a high quality of PhD students' life. Different actions are ongoing for the reconciliation of professional and family lives, also aiming to contrast the existence of gender gap in scientific community. The service of psychological counselor is offered for all personnel to face any kind of personal or working-related difficulties. Furthermore, SISSA Club promotes many cultural and sports activities which are great occasion for socialization and amusement. A positive, exciting atmosphere characterized our daily routine in SISSA. And the positive impact of this environment on our community has become dramatically evident after this year of restriction to COVID-19 emergency. SISSA is doing best efforts to ensure a safe progression of research activities, and professors and students are constantly revising their way of interaction to adjust to the evolving situation. But the inevitable limitation of activities to essential one and the complete stop of social interaction is strongly affecting the working quality of SISSA community. We really hope to rapidly go back to our old but special daily routine because we all miss very much the unique and amazing SISSA environment. Thanks.
Thank you, Manuela, for your words. I feel I really agree with what you said as a former SISSA student. Those were beautiful years for me as well. So thank you. Before having the minister, they tell me she's not here yet, we can go on with our schedule. So it's a great pleasure for me to present the next speaker. So Eveline Crone is with us. She's a professor at Leiden University of Neurocognitive Developmental Psychology, and she is the Vice President of European Research Council. She will offer us a speech today about excellence in science and crossing borders. Please be aware that now you can make questions if you want. So if you want to make a question at the end of Eveline Crone's speech, just write it down in the chat in the area questions and answers. And at the end of Professor Crone's speech, we'll have a couple of minutes to answer your questions or your comments. So feel free to write if you want. And now, so Professor Crone, the screen is yours.
Wonderful. It's wonderful to be here. I would like to thank Professor Ruffo for inviting me today. And thank you, Roberta, for this kind introduction. So the start of an academic year is normally a time of a fresh start, a time for optimism, maybe a time to consider how we might do things differently. But this year has been a strange and very difficult year for all of us. I am sure that you're all missing being together at your wonderful campus overlooking the sea. I know that I regret not having the chance to visit you today in person. But life and work has carried on. And I think that compared to this time last year, we can see some kind of pathway back to normality. So today, in the hope of better times ahead, I have been asked to pass on some reflections from my own career, both as a researcher and as a vice president of the European Research Council. I hope you will find them interesting and maybe even inspiring. So for those of you who not know me, I am a professor in developmental neuroscience in society at both Leiden University and at the Erasmus University Rotterdam. I lead the Society, Youth and Neuroscience Connected Lab, the SYNC Lab. And I examine the psychological and neural processes involved in self-regulation and social development with a special focus on adolescence. And since 2017, I have had the honor to be a member of the Scientific Council of the European Research Council and one of its 3 vice presidents since 2020. So first, I will update you on the latest developments within the EU's new research and innovation funding program, Horizon Europe. I will talk in particular about the European Research Council and our philosophy and plans. And I will also offer you some observations in the end from my own research and career. So the first thing I expect that you are interested in is Horizon Europe. This is the EU's research and innovation funding program for 2021 to 2027. The program builds on its predecessor, Horizon 2020. As in previous programs, the bulk of Horizon Europe's funding, and this is around 54 billion euros out of 95 billion, will go towards addressing global challenges and European industrial competitiveness. So funding will be divided between 6 thematic clusters, including health and culture, creativity, and inclusive society. And this pillar of the program will also support a series of the EU missions. Horizon Europe adds stronger support to innovative startup companies through a new European Innovation Council with a budget of around 14 billion euros. And there's also a cross-cutting component, widening participation and strengthening the European research area. And this will try to reinforce research in less performing regions. This part will also have a budget of around 4 billion euros. And finally, the program will continue to support frontier research through the European Research Council with a budget of around 16 billion euros. And also researchers' mobility through the Marie Curie actions with a budget of around 7 billion euros. So normally the EU spending programs are agreed well in advance of their start to allow for all the necessary preparations to be made. But as many of you have read, this time around, the negotiations for the EU long-term budget were particularly difficult. So there has been some delay, but the final preparations for the new program are now well underway. And I'm happy to report that the ERC opened its first call and the first call of Horizon Europe. It's the starting grant call for 2021 on February 25th with a deadline of April 8th. The consolidator grant will open on the 11th of March of 2021 with a deadline on April the 20th. And the advanced grant will open on May 20th of 2021. The European Research Council was first set up in 2007 after 10 years of efforts by the whole scientific community. Its aim is to provide flexible, long-term funding to high-potential individual researchers. ERC grantees can be of any nationality and work in any field, including the social sciences and humanities. The aim is to give ERC grantees the freedom to develop ambitious projects of their own choosing. The ERC is steered by an independent scientific council, and we are in charge of the overall scientific strategy, and we have the full authority over decisions on the type of research to be funded and its evaluation procedures. And this helps to guarantee the quality of the ERC's operations and the peer review process, and the ERC's credibility to the scientific community. In particular, it is critical that we can persuade top scientists to take part in our evaluation panels. So as one of the 3 vice presidents, one of my main roles, not my only role, but one of my main roles, is to supervise this recruitment. And if I tell you that we need around 1,000 panel members every year, that gives you some idea of the size of this undertaking. Soon we will be gathering online to mark a major milestone with a ceremony to celebrate the 10,000th ERC grantee. And ERC grantees have already done some exceptional work. 7 Nobel Prizes have already been awarded to ERC grantees, along with dozens of other important prizes. And according to an annual independent review, over 70% of completed ERC projects have led to discoveries or major scientific advances. And with around 1/6 of the budget of the EU framework program, ERC-funded researchers reported half of the scientific results of the program. So we believe we are heading on the right track. But it is important to keep the ERC efforts in perspective. In 2019, the overall expenditure of research and development in the EU 27 was 308 billion euros, with 92 billion euros spent by EU governments. And in the same year, the EU support to research and innovation was around 10 billion, of which around 2 billion was from the ERC. It is therefore obvious that EU funding cannot replace national funding. And for the foreseeable future, the primary responsibility for funding basic research in Europe lies at the national level. Countries need to be patient and to adopt a long-term perspective. Developing a strong science base cannot be the project of a single minister or a single ministry. There must be buy-in across governments and in the long term by the scientific community. Too often, we see a kind of boom and bust in research funding in certain countries as administrations change. The countries which now enjoy good research conditions do so only because of wise and patient investments over many years. It can take many years for the actors in a system to react to the incentives and structures put in place around them. And the ERC can support these efforts. Research funded by the ERC is expected to lead in advances and scientific breakthroughs. But it is also supposed to set a clear and inspirational target for frontier research across Europe. And this second part should not be forgotten. We know that we can't fund every promising researcher in Europe. Indeed, the biggest disappointment that all the Scientific Council members feel is not being able to fund all the excellent ideas that the ERC receives every year. But maybe we can inspire every ambitious researcher in Europe, even if we cannot fund them all, by showcasing what the best science in Europe looks like. We can hopefully encourage others to raise their game too. The ERC philosophy is therefore very different from the philosophy of the rest of the program. There, the aim is to fund large consortia of organizations to collaborate on projects aimed at solving predetermined topics related to the EU's policies priorities. So I think it's worth repeating why we at the ERC take this different approach. We certainly don't do that because we care more about the needs of scientists than the needs of society. The philosophy of the ERC rests on the idea that researchers know best the most promising research areas to explore. Those of you who are scientists are probably very comfortable with this approach. The idea to fund research this way is not a new one. It is the philosophy, for example, behind the Max Planck Society in Germany, the UK's research councils, the Institute for Advanced Studies in Princeton, and the US National Science Foundation. So this approach of trusting scientists has a long and successful history. But this approach can be confusing for politicians, policymakers, and administrators. They are under pressure to deliver results in the short term. All the more so when confronted with a major crisis. It is very tempting to promise we will fund scientists to solve problem Y. It's much harder to say we will fund scientists to develop new knowledge. So we in the Scientific Council understand this political pressure for immediate results. Currently, there are indeed many pressing problems in the world. But our belief is that without understanding, there is no real solution to the problems. Furthermore, solutions can come from unexpected places. Science advances as a front. New findings in one area can open up new opportunities in different areas. And putting all our resources into priority areas can therefore paradoxically lower our chances of achieving progress, even in those areas. And we believe that the ERC approach has been vindicated during the pandemic. Over 180 ERC projects funded before the onset of the pandemic and worth over 340 million euros have proven to be relevant to fighting COVID-19. In particular, 2 ERC grantees have been key figures in developing 2 of the vaccines already approved for use. Adrian Hill, who helped to develop the Oxford AstraZeneca adeno-vector-based vaccine, received an ERC grant in 2011 to understand the impact of human genetic diversity on responses to a range of vaccine antigens. Ugur Sahin, the CEO of BioNTech, who developed the BioNTech Pfizer mRNA vaccine, received his ERC grant in 2018 to explore the potential use of novel mRNA vaccines against cancer. Professor Sahin and his partner Özlem Turuci have been studying messenger ribonucleic acids for more than 2 decades. And in an interview with the ERC website, he said, "The expertise that we gathered in cancer trials encouraged us to extend the use of our mRNA vaccines towards prevention of infectious diseases. However, what has happened in the last 11 months and the impact of our research is beyond our imagination. Groundbreaking innovation requires decades of research and contributions from multiple research frontiers until it reaches maturity to provide benefit for humanity." So we believe that these examples show how valuable it is to give scientists some freedom to explore the frontiers of knowledge. And with all the pressure on national budgets, it's difficult for many countries to support the type of research funded by the ERC. And we think that providing this kind of support is therefore vital for the health of the European research system. This freedom I've been talking about is something that has been very important to me in my own career. I have always been fascinated by what happens to the brain between childhood and adolescence, a field that was largely neglected in comparison to studies on children's early days. During my career, neuroimaging, through the use of magnetic resonance imaging and functional magnetic resonance imaging, has brought about a revolution in the study of the developing brain. We now know that the brain regions determining emotions develop more quickly than those that control rational decision-making. And this explains the heightened sensitivities and risky behaviors that we see in teens. And these aspects of adolescence are unavoidable. This is probably why society has often seen adolescence in a negative light, going back as far as the ancient Greeks. But my interest is in seeing how people can successfully negotiate this crucial phase of development in a positive way, and to help the minority who do stray into dangerous, risky behavior. For example, there's a lot of media attention given to the negative aspects of the time that today's teens spend online. New digital technologies can be a distraction, but they also can be an unrivaled source of information and a way for young people to mobilize in support of good causes. So my research career has had a clear focus throughout, but I was determined from the start not to be constrained to the paradigms of any particular discipline or any one specific technique or methodology. My idea was to use whatever techniques were useful and to work with whoever could help me to understand these questions I was interested in. In other words, throughout my career, I have refused to be part of only one specific domain, but I have tried to use insights from across domains. I was also determined to pass on the findings coming from my research to as wide of an audience as possible. And this is not from vanity. That is because I believe that my research area is important and a better understanding of it can benefit people across society. So that is why in 2016, I worked on a film with a well-known documentary maker. The film Brain Time features interviews over the years with the same teenage participants in the Brain Time longitudinal study. In 2018, I published a book which has now sold over 100,000 copies and has been translated in 6 languages to explain the influence of brain development on learning, risk-taking, and the social relations and friendships of adolescents. Also helped to set up a website to provide information to teenagers themselves. And members of my research group provide information for teachers and youth workers in workshops and presentations. And that is why I would reject many of the labels given to different researchers. Am I a basic or an applied researcher? Am I a psychologist or a neuroscientist? Am I someone who specializes in magnetic resonance imaging or in twin studies? Am I the head of a laboratory or a scientific communicator? And I would urge you to ignore these labels as well. It is more useful, in my view, to ask, what are the questions you are trying to answer? What are you trying to understand? Only then should you seek out the methods and the colleagues and the expertise and the knowledge which can help you to answer these questions. You notice that I have not used the word interdisciplinary so far. I find that discussions on interdisciplinarity can often become sterile. It is not important to specify what interdisciplinarity is or draw distinctions between interdisciplinary, transdisciplinarity, multidisciplinarity. What is needed to answer your particular question will be unique and will need a unique approach. So, in conclusion, I hope that I can count on you to be advocates for the bottom-up approach in research funding. All healthy research systems need to allow an appropriate space for researchers to use their creativity and follow their passions. Some consider this approach to be idealistic, but I consider this approach to be realistic, as it is necessary in order for science to have its maximum impact for the benefit of society. We need to make this argument for as long as it takes to be heard. And I'm confident that I can count on you in this. The International School for Advanced Studies in Trieste has a well-deserved reputation for preparing its graduates for brilliant careers in the world of international research and professions. The number of ERC grants awarded to the researchers here in your institute is quite remarkable, even more so given the relative small size of the school. And I wish you even more success in the future. But I hope that you do not only support an open approach in theory. I hope that in your own individual studies and careers, you will also be open. There's no use in demanding scientific freedom if we do not use it ourselves. And I know it's not always easy, but we should try to avoid becoming too comfortable in our own disciplines and silos. We should try not to only spend time with colleagues who were trained just like us. We should try to avoid working only to impress the same narrow circle. One of the best ways to prevent this is to get out into the world and tell as many others as we can what we are doing. Ultimately, I believe that following your question and your passion is not only the best way to have a successful and rewarding career, it is also the best way to guarantee that science can have its maximum impact for the benefit of society. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor Crone, for your words. I would like to ask you something myself. Since you are one of the 3 vice presidents of ERC, you have been so since January 2020. So your role started a few months before the pandemic outbreak. So do you feel that the vision you pictured, the way of grasping science in such an interdisciplinary way, and especially with the long-term vision, do you think what we have all witnessed, so what happened and the new way in which people see science now, after all has happened in this such dramatic and strange year, do you think this will help ERC vision and what is necessary to have a wider way of building science, or either do you think maybe the opposite is true and the urgencies that we are facing may put at risk what you're looking for?
Thank you very much, Roberta, for asking this important question. So my impression is that the trust in science, which is already very high, sometimes people doubt about that, but there's actually a high trust in science among citizens, has even increased during the pandemic. Also, as long as we tell the story right, people will understand that it's standing on the shoulders of giants, and it takes many decades to actually move as fast as we did in the last year to make breakthroughs, for example, in the development of the vaccines. But also what I have noticed is that there's an increased understanding among scientists of the necessity of all these different fields and viewpoints. So that's in a way is a benefit of this crisis, although it's difficult to call it a benefit because obviously it's quite a disaster. But what I have seen among scientists is that there's more understanding of each other's fields and perspectives. And in that way, I think it has advanced also scientists to don't only focus on their narrow questions, but focus more broadly on the perspectives that will help us to solve these very, very complicated problems that we're currently facing.
Thank you, Professor Crone, for your wonderful speech. We had comments from the public who appreciated very much your words. So thank you for being with us. Now, it seems there were some problems with the participation of our Italian Minister of University and Research. Apparently, something went wrong, so we are not sure she will be able to attend at this point, but we never know. So maybe if should she be able to take part, we will of course be happy to welcome her. But now it's time to meet and celebrate the awarding people from SISSA students and staff this year. So Director Stefano Ruffo will join us back to acknowledge this year's most deserving SISSA staff and students. So Director Ruffo, please.
So thank you, Eveline, for the fantastic talk, emphasizing also the role of basic research, also in the most advanced application. I would like to first introduce Paola Ruggero, who got the prize in physics, and read the motivation for the prize. I hope that Alessandro can show the certificate and the medal. So I see it on the screen, so everything is fine. So the PhD thesis of Paola testifies an outstanding scientific output in terms of originality, broadness, depth, quality, and quantity. Dr. Ruggero's thesis has contributed significantly to the understanding of various open issues, extremely relevant for the physics of one-dimensional many-body systems, spanning from the characterization of their entanglement content to the descriptions of inhomogeneous and disordered configurations. Moreover, these results have been achieved with the exploitations of advanced and innovative techniques, including conformal field theory in flat and curved spaces, strong disorder renormalization group, generalized hydrodynamics. Dr. Ruggero has published now, I don't know if she has even more now, 16 papers in refereed journals, which is quite an achievement with high impact factor, 6 of which are first authored, obtaining more than 300 overall citations. Finally, during her PhD training, Dr. Ruggero has also autonomously pursued a few projects, setting up a growing network of international collaborations with world-leading scientists in the field of statistical physics. I would like to thank Signora Lutman, who generously provided the funding for the prize. So Paola, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Unfortunately, we cannot shake hands, but okay.
Hopefully soon.
I hope that I'm not allowed even to use some shake hands symbol, so I'm sorry. So the next student is Emanuele Tasso from the mathematics and area, and the title of the thesis is some fine properties of SPV and SPD functions. I know functions, what it means, but I don't know the rest, with applications to elastodynamics in domains with growing cracks. The thesis of Emanuele Tasso deals on one side with the structure of functions with complicated fine properties, and on the other hand, with models of fracture dynamics. Tasso introduced in an autonomous way new ideas and points of view to study these problems, obtaining interesting and sometimes unexpected results. There is no doubt that his represents an excellent work, which fully deserves the recognition of the best thesis in mathematics for the year 1920. So congratulations, Emanuele, and
thank you. Thank you very much.
Good luck for your career. The next student is Giulio Matteucci from the neuroscience area. The thesis, PhD thesis of Giulio title is Multidisciplinary Investigation of Shape and Motion Processing in the Rat Visual Cortex. Giulio has achieved impressive performance in his research, publishing the thesis work as first author in very high impact journals in the field, such as Science Advances. The community can readily recognize his papers as contributions that will impact the field in the coming years. In recognition of this, Matteucci received strong endorsement by the experts who participated to his thesis committee. In addition, the letters of support and references from supervisors and coordinators of the PhD program indicate the impressive performance of the student in his field of research. Congratulations, Giulio, for this achievement, and good luck for your career in science and in neuroscience, or in any sciences. Okay, so the last prize is for Stefano Tamai, is the prize for the science communication. The thesis of Stefano Tamai investigates the representation of mental health in video games, which are now part of the media ecosystem through which the common imagination is built. The topic, therefore, has a great interest, although still little known and studied. In particular, Dr. Tamai analyzed the case study, the video game Hellblade, as one of the rare examples in which we have seen, alongside the scientific advice of the classic type, also the active participation of patients who in their life have experienced firsthand the symptoms of psychosis represented in the video game itself. As pointed out by Dr. Tamai, therefore, Hellblade also stands as a citizen science experiment and therefore represents an innovative tool in the communication of mental health. For these reasons, the Commission considers the work worthy of being awarded as the best thesis of the master course in science communication on the edition of 2020. Congratulations, Stefano.
Thank you. And, thank you very much.
Good luck for your career. I know that the occupation of our students of the master is very promising, so I really wish you a fantastic career in science communication.
Thank you very much.
So we now go to the 25-year of service at SISSA medal. So the first medal is delivered to Francesco Scaramelli, who is here. I can see him. Good morning, Francesco. And unfortunately, I cannot be with you and shake your hands and embrace you, but I hope it will happen soon. So congratulations for your 25 years of career at SISSA. So, okay, thank you, Francesco. So the next is 2 prizes. Unfortunately, they cannot be present. Is Vincent Torre, who is now retired, and Sergei Petkov, who will not be present, but I mentioned them. They are 2 especially bright colleagues, and I really miss not to see them often, as I was used to meet them often, as I used to when we were all going to the office. And I hope to see them soon. And there is also a special prize, and it's to Laura, who is here. So it's a prize of the director. Laura has a very brilliant career in different institutions, and I chose this sentence to express my real support to her, and for her devotion to SISSA, even when Laura was a professor at the University of Trieste, and for the excellence in research. This is the sentence that I have chosen. Congratulations, Laura.
Thank you very much, Stefano. I'm sorry I cannot be physically with you, and you mentioned the right thing. One is out of SISSA is SISSA, belongs to SISSA all the time. Thank you a lot. You will see me around for quite some years again. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. And I really hope to see you around for many, many years. So I leave the floor now to Roberta for the closing part of the event.
Congratulations to all these outstanding students and staff. You probably all know Paolo Budinich. You probably all know who Paolo Budinich was. Director Stefano Ruffo mentioned him during his opening speech. If you do not know, you are about to find out who he was. He was a physicist, and he founded SISSA. Together with Abdus Salam, he founded the ICTP in 1964, and also in the same year he founded another institute that he called the Advanced School of Physics, and eventually 14 years later that institute became SISSA. So Paolo Budinich is the reason why we are all here today, and we are now going to watch a piece of a play about Paolo Budinich. What you probably don't know about Paolo Budinich is that he also was a seaman. He served as I think as a second lieutenant during the war. So this is the aspect that the author of this play chose to feature. What you are going to see is a piece from Paolo Budinich and the Paradoxes of Adventure, a SISSA production by Diana Hobel with the original music by Stefano Mastronuzzi. We are going to see them both. So this is Paolo Budinich and the Paradoxes of Adventure, Diana Hobel and Stefano Mastronuzzi.
The captain thinks. And now that I have founded the ICTP, I can go leisurely back to the Physics Institute of the university and enjoy all the benefits of having this center in my town and all the great minds that will be passing through. I can finally get back to my spinners. But of course, not. From the initial family atmosphere, with the stuff that could fit into a small car, the center grows and grows. With the spacious new grounds in Miramare, at 11 Strada Costiera from 1968, and then from 1970, with the arrival of UNESCO as financial backer, the training activities can increase. Budinich goes fishing, catching, one man after another. Physicists of great worth who will be able to give life to new areas of research, starting from scratch, persuaded by the charisma and the humanitarian perspective that the captain shows them. The center grows and grows. Now they even study mathematics and condensed matter physics, and then, over the year, cosmology, astroparticles physics, earth systems physics, applied physics and microprocessors. With the assurance of quality of substance, a scientific institute cannot survive on funds alone, nor only with the willingness to do good. You as a scientist want to go to a place to do the best physics and mathematics possible. The center grows and the number of visitors grows. So far 100,000 scientists from less developed countries have founded a point of reference in Trieste, and the number of buildings scattering around the park grows, as do the twin centuries scattering around the world. The center grows and grows, but getting funds is like hitting the jackpot. They are renegotiated every 4 years. And the Italian government pays in lira, and with the petrol crisis and evolution, closing down has been a risk several times. With long queues, Budinich outside the offices of the ministry, because it is crucial for the ICTP. Then is scored by Abdus Salam when he wins the Nobel in '79, which of course makes things easier for the center. And Andreotti too, him again. He does his bit when, in '84, for the 20th anniversary of ICTP, he announced a doubling of the funds allocated by the government, $10 million and not 3, because an institute like this can be obstructed by a lack of means. Professor Budinich is moved, but there is still a but, which doesn't escape the captain. In every boat, you need an anchor, a safety anchor. You can throw down so you don't risk smashing into the rocks or being shipwrecked in the middle of the sea. An anchor for all eventualities. And so a little out of foresight, a little out of his love of adventure. The captain sits off again to gate the anchor, an institution with the stability and permanence that could save the ICTP if necessary. This time, the boat is a blue vessel, sailing with full sails on the waves, with a warrior aboard, donning a helmet and above him a motto. But to follow virtue and knowledge, it is an invitation to go on board, to not stay on shore, staring like brutes, like an empty horizon. The captain sets the course. He realizes there is a new island near the only one already reached. He sees it really close by. It is a new center of excellence, with a sector of pure mathematics as well as physics, a permanent institute like the Italian universities, open to the international community with a nimble structure, a center of excellence like the Normale. He hoists the mainsail toward the new island. To get there, as usual, a sea of bureaucracy has to be crossed. Draft laws are put forward to institutionalize this new school, where young graduates can attain the title of Master and PhD, a title which doesn't exist here yet. But the crew has been tried and tested, and the sea of regulations doesn't scare him. Bowman, Luigi Stasi, one of those bureaucrats who knows how to find the legal way. And Fazio, Director General at the Ministry of Education, is also a sui generis bureaucrat, one who simplifies things. On March 1978, they arrive at the SISSA, the International School of Advanced Studies, the flagship of state education. Come to SISSA, here you could do. Budinich fishes, the most suitable to develop the Center of Excellence, the only one in Italy that investigates some fields in details, giving specific training to researchers. Young graduates, unpicked, inserted into small research groups, where they learn like apprentices, like in a craftsman's workshop. Condensed matter physics, biophysics, astroparticles, and then the neurosciences, from the study of the central nervous systems and the molecules study in neurobiology to the cognitive sciences, the study of the higher functions of the human brain. The SISSA logo, cut out on a piece of cardboard in the Budinich home, the image of a vessel from an ancient Greek vase, and above it Dante's motto from Canto 26, the one about Ulysses. Ulysses, who comes and goes from one adventure to another. The captain is the first director, and with his destination now reached, he can devote himself to his other passion, the spiners, of course. Not.
So this was a piece from Paolo Budinich and the Paradoxes of Adventure, Diana Hobel and Stefano Mastronuzzi. Thank you for this beautiful piece. Now we have finally the occasion of telling you a piece maybe of the speech that the Italian minister Maria Cristina Messa was going to do for us, but she will not be able to join physically, but the director Stefano Ruffo will read part of the speech for us. So, director.
Thank you, Roberta. Unfortunately, there was a very narrow time gap in which the minister could participate, and there was a connection problem exactly on those time gap. So, but I received a message from the minister Messa in Italian, and I will read part of it. Is a very long message. It's about 3 pages, and it's in Italian, so it concentrates on the role of PhD schools, the role of SISSA, and also mentions the efforts of networking that SISSA is doing with the other schools, as I have mentioned also in my speech. So I will read now in Italian. I'm sorry for the foreigners. I see that they are quite a lot, but I don't dare to translate the words of the minister in English on the spot, because I could really do bad mistakes. Grazie per l'invito. Il tema per l'inaugurazione 2021 è l'eccellenza scientifica. È simbolico discutere in una scuola di formazione avanzata in una città vicina ai confini nazionali, quasi a sottolineare le 2 suggestioni chiave dell'eccellenza. La prima: eccellenti si diventa avendo il coraggio di esplorare con originalità, curiosità e grande apertura mentale l'ignoto, per poi irrobustire competenze e conoscenze. Altrettanto occorre fare per restare eccellenti. Soprattutto in campo scientifico il riconoscimento è dinamico, supera i risultati conseguiti e le metodologie adottate. È un lavoro continuo di perfezionamento, di approfondimento e avanzamento nel sapere. La seconda suggestione riguarda il confine. L'eccellenza si colloca, si afferma sulla frontiera della conoscenza. Si tratta di frontiere permeabili e labili, perché l'eccellenza necessita di scambi, di relazione e ponte fra saperi consolidati e sperimentali, tra generazioni di scienziati, tra culture e sensibilità diverse. A queste idee di eccellenza si ispirano le politiche comunitarie e nazionali sulla ricerca e l'alta formazione, e anche l'attività della Scuola Internazionale Superiore di Studi Avanzati, fondata nel 78. La SISSA, infatti, in poco più di 40 anni ha formato 1500 dottori di ricerca in quelle che ha individuato come principale area di interesse scientifico. Qui a breve un po', fa molti elogi alla scuola, quindi risparmio questi elogi, li potrete leggere nei comunicati stampa. Andiamo alla parte più, diciamo, di programma. L'Italia, come purtroppo ben sappiamo, è un paese lontano dalla media europea per investimenti in ricerca e innovazione. Il nostro 1,4% del PIL è significativamente distante dal 3% della Germania e dal 2013 la spesa pubblica per ricerca e sviluppo è in calo. Ciò comporta 2 effetti: un insufficiente numero di ricercatori e la bassa capacità innovativa del paese. Mancano all'appello, per toccare la media dell'Unione Europea, circa 45.000 ricercatori. Non disponiamo delle masse critiche sufficienti che tengano insieme infrastrutture di ricerca avanzate, capitale umano specializzato, imprese ad alto contenuto tecnologico, elementi necessari per fronteggiare l'attuale fase di stagnazione economica e produttiva. Per invertire la rotta bisogna intervenire su queste leve in modo organico, assicurando risorse e norme adeguate, rapidità e certezza di tempi. È possibile fornire la crescita competitiva del Paese attraverso politiche integrate per la formazione terziaria, la ricerca e l'innovazione. Occorre innalzare il numero dei lavoratori con competenze adeguate ai nuovi profili, favorendone la crescita formativa e professionale anche attraverso la valorizzazione del ruolo del dottorato di ricerca, originale palestra formativa per futuri scienziati e anche per agenti di innovazione. Quest'ultimo aspetto va sottolineato proprio perché numerose ricerche evidenziano come la bassa capacità innovativa del Paese agisca da deterrente nel riconoscere, quando assunti, adeguato profilo contrattuale ai dottori di ricerca nelle imprese e nella pubblica amministrazione. Ma per favorire il cambiamento abbiamo bisogno di dottori di ricerca, i quali hanno maturato le competenze e la sensibilità per rendere scorrevoli le relazioni tra università, centri di ricerca, imprese, sulle principali filiere tematiche e tecnologiche, oltre a sviluppare capacità imprenditoriali sulle transizioni emergenti dal digitale all'economia verde e circolare. Rendere competitivo il Paese significa anche intervenire con lungimiranza sulle infrastrutture di ricerca, averne di più, aprirle all'ingresso di capitale privato in forma di partenariato pubblico-privato, metterle in rete e fare con loro sistema e massa critica, ma anche e soprattutto renderle snodi chiave per le attività dei ricercatori e per l'inserimento di giovani e di donne a livello gestionali più elevati. La crescita e l'innovazione dovranno poi essere indirizzate a superare i divari tra le regioni e le diverse aree del Paese. Il tema della crescita equa ed inclusiva è tra le sfide più ambiziose da affrontare, di cui è emersa l'urgenza in questi mesi difficili di pandemia e di chiusure. Anche per questo, quando all'interno del PNRR, Piano Nazionale di Resilienza e Recovery, si introducono gli ecosistemi dell'innovazione, l'obiettivo di fondo è ben più ambizioso dell'intervento per lo sviluppo di iniziative e di servizi per il mondo della ricerca e della produzione. È un'azione volta a recuperare e a valorizzare la capacità della ricerca e delle sue infrastrutture di diventare attori chiave nei processi di rigenerazione e qualificazione urbana. Laddove si insediano strutture scientifiche, progressivamente si innalza anche la qualità e la bellezza del contesto urbano. Lo confermano le tante esperienze internazionali e nazionali. Per questo la sfida degli ecosistemi è anche una sfida sociale, oltre che scientifica ed economica. A questi interventi vanno poi associate azioni mirate di riforme normative. Si pensi a puro titolo, ad esempio, alla necessità di incentivare la mobilità dei ricercatori e di promuovere una maggiore autonomia sia degli enti di ricerca sia delle università e non ultimo di semplificare le modalità di interazione tra università ed enti di ricerca e imprese e tra pubblico e privato, o al tema oggetto di discussione nelle competenti commissioni consiliari del Camera e Senato sul preruolo. So bene che la strada che abbiamo intrapresa non è semplice, ma ciò che renderà riconoscibile e scorrevole questo percorso sarà una nuova centralità data a ricercatori e ricercatrici. Mi piace ricordarlo in questo contesto e a questa scuola di eccellenza, dove è forte il legame intergenerazionale che trova una bella formula nel coinvolgimento dei dottorandi nel tutorato, nell'attenzione costante alla qualità e allo spessore della ricerca indipendente e della loro provenienza per la grande vocazione internazionale. Ciascuno di voi ben sa che ogni conoscenza e continuazione acquisita prima o poi sarà utilmente sfruttata. Per questo è importante, soprattutto negli anni di dottorato, appassionarsi alla buona ricerca, stringere reti ampie con altri ricercatori e scuole, muoversi, essere curiosi, perché ogni ricercatore, ogni buona ricerca, ogni scuola, università e centro di ricerca è una fonte di energia che genera continue e nuove connessioni. La sfida per noi tutti è saper tradurre tale ricchezza di energia, di idee, di energia in ricchezza reale per i nostri territori. Per questo auspico che la SISSA sappia farsi rinnovatrice dell'azione federativa delle scuole di eccellenza, facendo leva su quei punti di forza che la contraddistinguono: l'attenzione al singolo, la qualità delle ricerche, il posizionamento sui confini della scienza, la forte dimensione internazionale e comunitaria, ma anche al saper comunicare la scienza. Oggi più che mai abbiamo bisogno delle sue parole, delle sue storie per garantire alla scienza quella sana autonomia da tutti i vincoli per poter avanzare liberamente e responsabilmente nei suoi molteplici campi. Nello stesso tempo, come cittadini, come persone, necessitiamo di avvicinarci alla scienza, comprenderne le scoperte e le innovazioni, per superare le paure che ce ne allontanano e guardare con rinnovato stupore e maggior consapevolezza critica al futuro. I thank a lot the Minister Messa for this very profound document that she sent. Unfortunately, she could not read the document personally. There are some clear indications also for us to continue our activity in the research and in the education of the PhD. It is clear. I'm really happy to close this event with such profound words from Minister of Research and Education, Professor Maria Cristina Messa, and I leave back the floor to Roberta for the closing words.
Thank you, Director. I would like to thank all of the speakers of this session today. So Director Stefano Ruffo, Minister Maria Cristina Messa, Manuela Santo, Professor Eveline Crone, Diana Hobel and Stefano Mastronuzzi, and all the people that have attended this event. So thank you very much for being with us. And although it's late, although the academic year in practice has already started, but I want to wish you all a wonderful academic year.